Now on DRagonFLIX. Linnea Quigley's scary movie biography show. Featuring stories never heard before of movies she has made. Return of the Living Dead. Savage Streets. Night of the Demons. Sorority Babes in the Slimeballerama. Cannibal. Linnea Quigley's horror workout. Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. Graduation Day. These are just a few that will be brought to you exclusively by DRagonFLIX.
A full moon. A spooky, deserted mansion. Halloween night.
All right, dudes! And duduses! Let's party!
10 kids. All they want to do is raise a little hell. Now, as long as they live, they'll wonder what's gotten into them. Night of the Demons.
Blessed be the sinners, for the day of atonement is at hand.
Stop looking at me. Night of the Demons. Party till you drop.
Hi, I'm Linnea Quigley, and I want to tell you about this movie I did, Night of the Demons.
How did you get to be in the film?
I got to be in Night of the Demons because of this little-known movie that they really liked called Return of the Living Dead. They liked my performance in it. They'd seen Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Savage Streets, and this was the first time I did not have to read for a part. I kept saying I wasn't going to do the film, or not do the film, do the audition, because it was about a bunch of teenagers, and I was not a teenager, and I got so much just rejection so many times when I went on auditions, like, well, you're not young enough, you're too old, you're this, you're that. I was only 25 also, but by standards of Hollywood, that's old. So I said to my manager, when he said about going in and you know, they wanted to see me, I said, no, I'm not gonna go in, I'm not gonna go in, I don't want the rejection. So they kept calling me and saying, no, they really want to see you. I kept saying no. And they just kept at it saying, no, they really, 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 really want to see you. And I said, okay, I'll go. But I wasn't expecting much. I didn't think they would hire me. I thought maybe they just want to see me, because I've had that where people have seen Return of the Living Dead, but they just want to see me. So I went in there, and it was Kevin Tenney, Joe Augustin, the writer, and Jeff Joffrey, who was the producer. And they all of a sudden started talking to me about playing Suzanne. And I was like, what's the catch? They said, oh, you're hired. And I said, what? And all of a sudden I had my picture up on the board along with other actors, and I was playing Suzanne. It was really a great experience to not have to read, because I hate reading, I'm really bad at it, and I didn't even have to see a casting director really, so that was really nice. And all of a sudden I thought, I rule the world.
So, what's it about?
Night of the Demons which was called Halloween Party, is about a bunch of teenagers that go to a haunted house because it's Halloween and Angela is having a party. So we went, we were filming in this old house, and it's about all of a sudden this house had an evil being. It was evil. So we get possessed one by one. Some of us don't, but most of us do. I probably shouldn't tell you that, because if you haven't seen the movie, you might not see it because I've told you the whole thing. I'm going to leave a little bit to the imagination, but it's an evil, evil house, and we have an evil, evil time in it. Not for the weak of heart.
So who was the director in the film? What can you tell me about him or her?
The director of the film was Kevin Tenney, and he had done a film called Witchboard, which I hadn't seen yet, but he was just so funny. He was like the funniest, happiest guy, director I'd ever met. Nothing fazed him. And with all the effects, with all the actors, most of the actors were really young and they were acting up, being silly. The first AD had a big job wrangling them, but he would do different tricks on the set, like him and another guy would shave off their beards and, think everybody's gonna notice because they'd made a bet, and nobody would notice because they were just so into like going through makeup and wardrobe and getting on the set. But Kevin was just a lot of fun, a good director, and a good guy.
So who was in the cast, and what can you tell me about them?
The cast included Allison Barron, Kathy Podwell, Amelia Kincaid. Jill Tensor. I can't say her name now. Jill Terashito. I'm going to do the women first because that's polite. Then there was the men, which was Billy Gallo, Philip Tanzini, Lance Fenton, Hal Havens, and let me see if I forgot anybody. Those were the main cast people that were in the film, and it was a good cast. Everybody was fun. Everybody thought the place was haunted, except me. I could have played some tricks on them, but I didn't. Darn it. I usually do that.
So would you have imagined this film becoming a cult classic?
I never thought this film would do much. I thought it's just gonna like show and then go away like a lot of horror films. I didn't think it was going to really catch on, but it did, and it still is, which is amazing to me. It's cool. It's cool that people dress like me, men dress like the Suzanne character, and men dress like the Amelia Kincaid, Angela character. So I guess it has caught on.
Are there any specific memories you have?
I remember working on the film, and it was like a real film too, like Return. And they went to do the wardrobe, and I had the pink dress, and then the really colorful makeup, and I was like, oh, I hate this. Ugh. I was like, I really, really hated it, and I wanted to have Amelia Kincaid's outfit. I wanted to have the black long dress with, like, dark and everything, and I was in pink. And I remember they also got me these Fredericks of Hollywood shoes that were pink, but I don't wear heels, so I kind of like had to stumble into my shots. I don't know how I did it, but I could walk in heels when I was filming, but I couldn't when I wasn't filming. I don't know what that is about, but maybe it was the possession of the house or something. I remember also having the biggest crush on Steve Johnson, the effects guy. He had done my breasts. He had plastered them. He wasn't plastered though, but he had plastered my breasts for the lipstick scene. I'm not going to tell you what happens in that. And so, of course, when that happens, you have to date a guy because he's been touching your breasts. I mean, if I didn't, I'd be a big slut. So I had the big crush on him and didn't know he liked me, had no idea. And I remember that. That was fun and like, ooh, you know, exciting to go to set. And I remember we were filming in a really bad gang area. So they had security. The whole area was in a bad area. So with the security and everything, I felt safe and the house was so cool. Everybody said, oh, I saw this and I saw that. And the door locked and I smelled this perfume and I just didn't. I thought it was real dusty and neat and fun. But it was a lot of fun to do that film, and my memories are good from it, except for the special effects makeup, which took 12 hours to do my face, and then put in the contacts, and then put in the teeth, and the different things they put on me, harnesses and awful things.
So is that what stands out about the film?
What stands out about the film is that most of it was fun, but a lot of it was not fun. When you hear people saying to you when you have effects makeup on, a million times from different people, you look like my ex-girlfriend, or you hear, you better see a dermatologist about that. And you're in this makeup, they can't tell. What's weird is they can't tell if you're laughing, you're upset, nothing. And they look at you very vacant. It's so different from when you're just not having the makeup on. It's like a vacant, weird look. I don't know if they're horrified, I don't know what it is, but it's just like that. And that's disturbing.
So is that the worst thing that happened in the film? Or
That's the worst thing that happened in the film, is going through that makeup. I didn't see spirits, I didn't feel them. Also, one of the worst things was we had to work with this now outlawed smoke. They were called cookies, and they smelled like I guess a church. I've never been in one, but you know, they smelled like the incense or something like that, and it was not nice. And we would all go home and blow our noses because all of the smoke went up there, and it would be this blue stuff that would come out. Now, I don't think that's very good when blue stuff comes out of your nose. That's why they outlawed them. But I breathed a lot of it in, so I guess that's my excuse for being me.
So beyond the cookies, were there any special effects in the film that kind of stand out to you in your memory?
The effects in the film were really interesting. There was one where I'm looking in the mirror pretty shortly after I'm possessed, and if I stick my chin out, my whole face goes back. That was an interesting effect. That was cool, even though I had the makeup on, but I liked that it stretched my face out. Another one, let's see, was probably the lipstick scene. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I'm not sure, but it was hard to do properly because I was like trying to like make a circle and go somewhere. I don't want to give this away. I really don't. But it was like hitting a bullseye. I had to hit a bullseye and do it right the first time, because otherwise they'd have to do it again and again and again, and they didn't like that. And then I did fail miserably on one of them, and that's when I was poking Jay's eyes out. They had cherry tomatoes, rubbers, and KY jelly in the mold of his face that I was supposed to poke out. Well, I feel bad for the guy that had to go to the drugstore and buy a bunch of rubbers, a bunch of tomatoes, and a bunch of KY jelly. I feel so bad for them, but my big failure was that I couldn't do it. I had practiced. I had to go over to the special effects place and practice doing this because it was crucial to Steve Johnson that I did it right. So when they put my bracelet on a guy. I don't remember who it was exactly. It could have been Steve. And they had him gouge the eyes out because I did such a miserable job of doing it. So the last day, though, was the worst. The day that we all come out of the house when we're all possessed. Everybody went through, I mean, hours and hours and hours, 12 to 14 hours of makeup. And we were there at 3 in the afternoon the day before for a dawn shot that night, or morning, let's say. And we just were miserable. We couldn't really eat. We couldn't really do anything except be in pain with all this stuff on us. And one of the actors almost cried because they wanted to wear it home because they didn't want the pain of having it put on again. But they wouldn't let them do it because I guess they thought it would get messed up or something.
Looking back on all your films, where would you place it?
I would place Night of the Demons as probably the second favorite film of mine because it's well known. It has a lot of cool things in it and stuff that I wouldn't do again, like the makeup effects. And it has a special place in my heart. I think it's a really, really good film.
Can you compare the film to anything else?
If I could compare Night of the Demons to anything, wow. I can't compare it to anything else. It's not a Disney film. I know that.
And do you have a favorite memory?
Probably my favorite memory when I was doing the film was meeting Steve Johnson and having the little, thing where we got married afterward. Not afterward, right afterward, but that was really a good memory. And also not having to read for it. That was a great memory. And just being able to work on something where I really wasn't that fond of the character or my costumes. So it's like I wasn't in love with my character, but I think I made it work.
And what was the difficulty like as an actor for this film compared to other ones that you've done?
I think the big difficulty in working on Night of the Demons was not loving my character. And whereas I loved my character in Return of the Living Dead, I didn't know how exactly I was going to, when I read it, read this dialogue and act it. So how I do it is I just go by the skirt of by the seat of my pants, not my skirt. I usually just see how it comes out of me, just in the moment. So I think that worked finally, doing it that way, because I remember Steve Johnson was saying, "Oh my God, she's such a bad actress. She's so bad." But I don't think the dialogue could have been said any other way. If you said it in a serious acting way, it would have been really weird, and that would have been bad acting. So I just had fun with it, and then I liked it when I saw it.
And how did they handle publicity?
Oh, wow. On Night of the Demons, they had a lot of publicity. I got to go to New York and be on MTV, which was very exciting. I got to be in a lot of magazines. I was in Fangoria again. I was in Slaughterhouse, which is a now defunct one, like most magazines now. I I got all this fun stuff I got to do publicity-wise for it. And then they combined Return of the Living Dead with Night of the Demons, and I could talk about both, and I felt like, I'm a horror actress. I am so proud.
So, you're talking somebody into watching this film. What would you say?
If I was to talk somebody into watching this film, I'd say, if you've ever been in a haunted house and there's something that's very evil there and wants to possess you, and you believe in hauntings, you must watch this film because it shows you the way they can get into you and out of you, and the things they can do, the bad things they can do. So watch it, but watch it with the lights off to make it even extra special. But if you get scared, it's not my fault.
Alrighty, guys, welcome to New Jersey HorrorCon's Night of the Demons panel. We have two legends here today, so make some noise for Linnea Quigley and Amelia Kincaid. Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time and being with us here today. So I like to start, chronologically at the beginning. Do you guys remember where you were when you first heard about the project or first read the script and what your first impressions were?
Oh my, I was in my kitchen and I got a call from my manager saying that they wanted to see me for this movie about these teenagers in a house that's haunted. And I said, I'm not gonna go. Because I wasn't a teenager and I was so tired of the rejection. Because in Hollywood, there's so much rejection. Oh, you're too old. And so he called me about 4 times when I said, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. And finally, oh, no, the director really wants to see you. So, okay, I'll go. And I went, and they, hired me without, I didn't have to audition or anything. And I was, stunned. I was so happy about it.
I did not know you didn't have to audition.
Oh.
But they knew who you were already.
They knew who I was,
They knew you from other movies.
Yeah, that's why.
What was your most famous movie that you had just done?
Return of the Living Dead.
So they already
Now,
knew who you
They
were.
knew, so
And they were lucky to get you.
yeah. It was fun. I was lucky to get it.
I think they were pretty lucky to have both of you.
That's right.
Amelia,
Wow.
do you remember?
One time, and now I've forgotten who it was. It was somebody huge. It wasn't Meryl Streep, but it was someone like that who won an Oscar. And they said, do you know, where were you when you got the call that you had won the Oscar? And she said, I was scooping my kitty litter.
Oh my God.
And I found out I was an Oscar nominee. So I just want to borrow that line.
Wow.
I probably was scooping kitty litter at
Is it
the
a plug
time.
for Tidy Cat, or is there a specific brand of kitty litter?
No,
or-
no, it was just, I was scooping my kitty litter.
Wow.
I was in beautiful downtown Van Nuys, not the best part of LA. And I'd moved out and spent a year with my aunt, Rue McClanahan, of the Golden Girls fame,
Oh, wow.
Blanche.
Wow.
I came to Hollywood as a dancer. I had no intention of being an actress at all, none. And Rue made me do it.
Wow.
She made me do it.
So the Golden Girls is partially responsible for Night of the Demons.
Completely responsible.
That is, I think,
If she hadn't talked me into being an actress, I would never have done it.
That is my new favorite intersection of pop culture ever, right there. Golden Girls and Night of the Demons. That's amazing.
Wow. And I read the script, and the reason I wanted the role was the dancing.
Absolutely.
That when I saw the dance sequence, I went, okay, that's it, I want it.
Now, just a sidebar, because you brought up the dance. Had you seen Linnea's dance from Return of the Living Dead before you shot yours?
Probably not.
No,
No, you hadn't seen it, huh?
no.
Oh, wow. So
That's right, we both danced in the movie.
you're the most famous horror dances in the history of horror dances, both of you.
I never
Oh.
thought of
Hands
that.
down.
I never thought of that
before.
before either.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's
So I guess
pretty
you
amazing.
definitely didn't give her any point. Like, I'll tell you how to do an iconic horror dance scene. I guess it was just natural. All right,
No,
very
hers
cool.
was like amazing.
Well,
They were both
I'm sure
amazing.
yours was too.
Yes.
He let me do whatever I wanted. He just followed me around with a handheld.
Wow.
He went go crazy.
And did I hear you pick the song for that? Is that right?
I did, and I never thought I'd get it.
Wow.
Cause I was kind of like, you know, the candy punk rocker. We were all wannabes, spraying our hair pink, and I had a crew cut, you know, when I came out,
Oh, wow.
a blonde crew cut. But I had a girlfriend who was a real punk rocker,
Okay.
and she said, "You've got to use this Bauhaus song."
Yeah.
And then when we listened to it, I said, "We're never going to get the rights to this. This is impossible to do." And one of the many magical occurrences in this string of movies, we got the rights to that song, which is just impossible to do.
And I could not imagine it with any other song. So another one I wanted to ask you guys, what was the vibe like on set? Like, this always seemed like a movie to me that was like everyone was having a great time, everyone got really close, and they, practical jokes on each other, that kind of stuff. Was it a really fun movie to shoot?
No.
No.
That makeup was horrible. Oh my God, torture.
It's not easy to have fun when your cheeks are velcroed behind your face. I mean, the reason that possession makeup looks so scary, and it's you in that first scene, when you're the first one to get possessed.
You're right.
Your chin was up, and when you dropped your chin down, because Steve had hooked our cheeks, that's one of the reasons why it's so terrifying, because that gives it that not quite human look.
Wow.
It does.
Yeah. So I guess I had the totally wrong. I was thinking like, oh man, everyone's high-fiving after a day's shoot, like going out for drinks and having a great time. And
We shot all night, so he
right,
would
yeah.
torture us for 6 to 9 hours
Oh,
in the
wow.
makeup chair.
Who was it that slept in their makeup because it was so horrible?
Hal
That's it.
Hal was begging, because we'd film all night after we'd been in the makeup chair for 6 hours, and then they'd set me on fire or put me on roller skates and push me down, or I'd dance or whatever. And you got tortured to the nines. And the next morning, it took an hour and a half to peel it off. So we'd sit there and try not to cry while they're peeling the prosthetics off our face. That wasn't fun either.
that does not sound like a good
Now,
time.
I've heard makeup's gotten a lot easier since we did that.
CGI.
Yeah, it's just green paint now. So, what about working with Kevin? What kind of vibe does he like to keep on, as a director? Is he, real tough, really easygoing, an actor's director? How would you describe that process?
Kevin is really fun and funny. If you say something, he'll have a quip for it like that.
Oh, wow.
He'll just like go off you and like, and he was fun, and he played tricks on us too, because he had a beard, and one day he shaved it off and nobody noticed it. It's like he'd been directing us and nobody noticed.
Wow.
So he'd do little things like that. He was
Okay.
really an actor's friend,
Oh, that's cool.
very positive.
Awesome, very cool. Amelia, any memories, Kevin?
After a really difficult scene, Kevin would yell, "Chock full o' art."
Oh.
Remember that?
No, I don't.
You remember chock full o' art?
Okay, now I do. Oh my God. Wow. That one-
No, he let us be as creative as we needed to be. So we did a lot of improv. Every single performance was a different actor's take on what it means to be possessed.
Yeah.
If somebody put a camera on you and said, "Okay, you're possessed now, act possessed,"
I would be laughed right out of the business.
what does that mean
Do it.
to you? And there was no way to direct it. They had to find actors who brought it.
Yeah.
And in the auditions, we brought it.
I want to know what her audition was like.
I actually want to know that too. So
Yeah.
thank you for asking that. Yeah.
I was supposed to be this, at this point, this murderous killer. And I got in the casting agent's face, like I kind of crawled up over her desk in Tedra Gabriel's face and just kind of started flirting with her, like smiling. And she said, I scare the hell out of her.
Wow.
That's great.
She'll still say I scare the hell out of her.
That's amazing.
Because I thought, how am I going to play this against character? You can't go, rah! What are you going to do?
Yeah, right.
You're supposed to be possessed. How are you going to make that believable?
Yeah. No, that's a really amazing choice though. That's a fantastic way to play it. So another thing I've always loved about this movie is, the 80s were chock full of a lot of, slasher movies that kind of assembly line kind of came off the mold. And they're great movies. I love them. But something about Night of the Demons always felt very fresh and kind of outside the box of the norm of what was going on at that time. And I was wondering for each of you, what to you think helped set Night of the Demons apart from some of the other films of the same era?
Well, we weren't being killed. We didn't have this girl's a bad girl because she has sex or she smokes or she does this. It was like this demon getting into all of us. And we didn't die, we just were possessed. And I think, in all the Freddy movies and Jason movies and all those, it was just, if you had sex, you'd die. And it was very predictable. This wasn't predictable.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Amelia, your thoughts?
Well, I think now, more than ever, with the whole female empowerment that's happening now, when I look at the movie, it was about a female heroine. Kathy wins at the end.
Yeah.
She wins at the end.
Yeah.
And they used to laugh all the time about Alvin because he said this was the first horror movie where a black man survived.
Wow. That's very likely to be true, I think.
Alvin says that,
Yeah.
and that's true.
Wow.
And even though my character is this villainous, tiger bitch from hell, I don't start out that way. I was the one who said, no, we should not do a seance in this house. This house is possessed.
Yeah.
I was the voice of reason, and then we all got it. We were all kind of victims to it. And there were very, very powerful females in the movie. The villains and the heroine are all women. You ever thought about that before?
No,
I never thought about that before.
No.
Pretty incredible
It's
stuff.
true.
Yeah, very true. So one image from the film that is burned into every fan's mind forever is, of course, the broken mirror shot. Do you guys have any memories of filming that or the setup to that? Did it take was that a crazy, complicated? It had to be insane to set that
They
up.
kept moving us around. They kept, just positioning us so, and we had to stay so still. And I remember, I thought, oh my God, this is so arty. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we had to stay in an exact position, not move an inch at all. So we had to really be on top of ourselves.
Yeah, it must have been pretty tough to shoot. Amelia, your memories pretty much the same, or?
I think that was the best thing that Kevin's done. And in that film in particular, I think that was the best thing.
Definitely.
And a lot of what we're talking about, that freshness, that kind of innocence and that exuberance and the excitement, every single actor was just absolutely going for it. Nobody held back anything. And we were having a ball. To answer your question, we had a ball.
I knew there was a little fun to be had
We
in
really
there.
got along, and we're still friends. And now when we do these reunions, we have a blast because we adore each other. The
bet.
whole cast does. There's not one bad apple in the cast.
Wow, that's a very rare thing.
It's amazing.
Very rare.
And Joe Augustin is who I give credit. The writer was the one who created something magical.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So do you guys have any memories from opening weekend or the premiere, or did you have a big premiere, or was it?
It was mind-blowing because I know when I shot this, we shot it in 21 days. It was so low budget. Well, we don't get residuals.
Which is not, that's not
We
right,
never got
though.
residuals, and
But
that's illegal, but
That's
we
illegal
didn't.
what they did.
Oh,
And
man.
we shot it affirmative action, which means you make about as much money as you would if you were out cocktail waitressing.
Oh, wow.
So there's no money to be made. It was a labor of love.
Yikes.
And what did you ask? What was what?
You're making me forget now. If you had any memories from opening weekend or
Oh,
when the
yeah.
film
So,
released
you know, we
or
all thought it
premiere.
would go away. We thought we just shot something that no one will ever see. It's not going to get a theatrical release. 2 weeks later, we'll have forgotten all about it like it didn't happen. And they released it at the Mann's Chinese Theater, which is the biggest, most historic theater in Hollywood. I mean, this
Yeah.
is where Marilyn Monroe and your
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin and Mary Pickford, I mean, everybody from the history of Hollywood, from the beginning of Hollywood.
Yeah.
This is the most glamorous historic theater.
Wow.
And they did a huge red carpet.
Wow.
And then we got a great review in Variety.
Right.
And the whole thing was just shocking.
Wow, that's so cool. That must have been a blast. That must have been a great time. Any memories more of the same, or?
You know what? I think that was the weekend I took too much acid. No. No, I don't remember the red carpet. I think I was somewhere else.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I got to see
Were
the
you
premiere.
there?
Huh?
At the Mann's Chinese Theater.
I don't think I was there.
Wow.
Maybe you were filming something else
I think
already.
I was gone.
Yeah.
You were probably
Wow.
off
And I
Probably
working.
missed
filming.
it. And then I
Oh.
missed you guys' big, to do in Burbank.
Burbank.
You know, when it was coming out or something like that, and everybody in the cast and crew was there. You missed it too.
I don't know. Maybe I did.
So this is one of those movies that feels kind of like it's sort of bigger now than even when it came out. I mean, is that something that ever hit you guys like years after the film's release? Like wow, this thing's really got legs, or this is becoming a classic, or this is on TV a lot, or do you ever remember a moment?
Weird. It's so weird to think that, and it's how old? 32 years or something.
It's about that, yeah.
Well, that means we were 5 and 6, baby.
I know, we were so young
And aged like wine.
and innocent when we did it.
We were 5 and 6.
Yes.
5 and 6.
Came
yeah.
a
I
while
won't, I
ago.
won't even tell which one is 5 and which one is 6.
No.
Oh, classic. So, what are you guys' thoughts on the remake?
I love the fact that Shannon's here because this is the first time there are two Angelas in the same place.
Wow.
And I was trying to get Ryan to let us do photo ops together. I mean,
that
we're
would be
going to have to
awesome.
sneak them because we're not on the schedule together.
Oh, we have to do some renegade photos for
But
sure.
I mean, the whole thing it's so mind-blowingly flattering. It's so mind-blowingly flattering. And I have to wonder if the cast of, Tim Curry, what's it called? Rocky
Oh,
Horror.
Rocky Horror.
I have to wonder if they feel the same way. That they thought, we're doing something that's incredibly fun. No one's ever going to see it, so we're just going to go absolutely crazy. Because why not?
Yeah.
And then it's because they went absolutely crazy, because they thought no one was ever going to see it, that it becomes something that really inspires people and gets people excited, and they still identify with those characters. I mean, sometimes from what I'm hearing, I have never made one of these outrageously expensive movies where you're getting paid $20 million, one of the Julia Roberts kind of movies.
Right.
But from what I've heard, there's so much pressure. The directors are obsessed. Everybody's obsessed. Everybody's at each other's throats, as always. And there's so much money involved that they can be very stilted. because as an actor, you're under this god awful amount of pressure. The pressure we were under was the effects.
Yes.
But it's one of the reasons I took the movie. You know, Steve had just won the Oscar for Ghostbusters, and I wanted to do the effects. I thought the effects would be fun.
Oh wow. And
Boy, were you
I was
wrong.
just warming my hands over the fire.
And
Wow.
that was like a 6-second thing.
And they lit my hands on fire.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, speaking of the effects being fun, you met your future husband getting prosthetic molds done, right?
Yes. Yeah. I went to his lab studio thing, and so they said they had to do a life cast of my breasts. So I always say anybody that does that has to date me at least. So I met him there, and I thought, oh, he's cute, but he was just real, like very, no, you do it like this, and kind of bossy about stuff.
Oh wow.
And it wasn't until the wrap party that we started dating.
Okay.
Which was after the film, but
Okay.
it was just so weird because he said, "Oh, I thought you were kind of loose because you just took off your top." I go, "Well, I had to. You were gonna do a life cast of that." I'm like, "Oh, come on."
Oh man. And then on the last question too, your thoughts on the remake?
I haven't seen the remake.
Ah.
I like to always watch the originals of everything.
I try and avoid remakes at all, as
Yeah,
many
me
costs as I
too.
can. There's some that are great.
Yes.
There's a small handful, but usually the original's amazing. That's why it's being remade. And
I know.
Just watch the amazing original.
Exactly.
So I could definitely feel you on that. And now, it's funny because Hollywood went through their remake phase, very heavy. And now I feel like we're kind of coming out of that. And now we're getting into, sequels, again. And it's like even we're getting rid of, reboots from the continuity to go back to the original timeline. And I was curious if that's something you guys would you be a fan of A Night of the Demons 4?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, would be totally different characters. Would be possessed, like, people. I don't know what to say. Possessed older women. Some cougars. So it could be interesting.
And Night of the Cougars. There you go.
Night of the Cougar.
I like Night of the Cougars, Linnea.
Yeah.
That's actually a really decent title. Think
That's
about
a
it.
really good idea.
That's not bad at all.
You get the money, and then we'll be in it.
All right, if you guys are
No,
the Cougars, I'll get the money.
I'll tell you what. If
All right,
they let me
done.
write it, I would write it.
Perfect.
Because I think what it needs to be, what it could be, is the children of the survivors. I'm going to give away my story. If anybody wants to write it, because somebody needs to write it. And I think that because Kathy and Alvin survive, if their kids grew up hearing their parents tell these ridiculous, tales about what happened to them in the haunted house, what happened to them, and the kids think their parents are nuts.
Oh, totally.
So the kids go out to Hull House to go have their own party there, but maybe one of the moms say that Kathy went crazy, and her daughter wants to go find out what happened to her mother. I mean, that could be cool.
I'm so in for this.
That could be
this
cool.
Is fantastic.
And
I'm
I could write it. If they let me write, I could write it.
You heard it here first, folks.
And if I played, I could be in a flashback
Yeah.
of what, had happened. And
Sure.
then if they want to put me in it again,
Well,
we would have to really tweak it so that I could be in it.
That
And
would
make
be-
more money.
That would be awesome. I'm so in on this. This sounds like fantastic. So I do want to give a chance for the audience to get in questions. Guys, you have anything you want to ask?
Before you do, I have something for Linnea.
Oh, okay. Oh, by all means.
Now, what I discovered this morning, I don't know if you've seen this post on Facebook. When you go to lunch here on the other side of the casino, the restaurant is in a candy store. and the bar is in a candy store. So I look over and somebody's got this drink and it's filled with candy. And I was already taking pictures, this huge thing. And then I look over again and it's steaming. They put dry ice in it and all this smoke is coming up out of it.
Whoa.
So this is an amazing casino. I mean, we're going to have a ball here.
Oh, yeah.
But what do you write on all your pictures? You naughty thing.
Do you have sour balls?
Yes.
I do.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Now you have your own sour balls.
Oh my God. We'll have to give these all to the guys.
This.
Because
is-
maybe there'll be some cute boys there.
This
You
is
can pose for
historic.
your sour balls. Have you got your dress together?
I love this.
Did you get the pink dress
I
together?
haven't seen it yet, but I know it's being done. Finally.
That's right. There's going to
Well-
be some in-costume photo ops going down.
And we
Very,
have
very
in this
exclusive.
audience my Mangulas and Fangulas who are going to be in drag tomorrow. So we have two gentlemen who've flown all the way from Los Angeles
Oh, wow.
and are going to be in absolute perfect drag as
Wow.
Angela
Wow.
and Suzanne.
Incredible, yeah.
So they're gonna be four of us, if you can stand that.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I'll be jealous.
Greg and David are gonna be us.
Oh my gosh.
So
I
we're
can't wait.
making history. If you haven't signed up for the photo ops, please sign up for the photo ops.
Seriously, yeah.
I dragged this dress in this suitcase all the way. So I have two ginormous suitcases. One of them is filled with my hoop skirt and everything because Greg designed it for me and bought it all for me. And we've got the jewelry and the tiara and the veil and the makeup and the nail polish. We have everything perfect.
Wow.
And the first time I've ever seen Suzanne in drag.
Yeah.
Yep,
You're right.
that's right. It's the first time I've ever seen any man do you in drag.
I haven't seen it either. And also, do you remember they promised our costumes to us and they never gave them to us? They disappeared.
Yeah, of course not.
We know they're
They also
somewhere.
promised to pay us.
Yeah, they did.
Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail. I'll be
Yeah.
there.
Wow, it's been a while.
30 years. That
Yeah.
U.S. Postal Service is enough to make
It's
anyone sick.
horrible.
Yeah, horrible, horrible. Did anyone in the audience, guys, have any questions that you wanted to ask? Okay, got one over here. Oh, just try and speak up a little bit. It's real hard to hear you.
Oh, yeah. The skirts, and I played guitar and sang and wrote, and then the bass player was Haiti Pomar, and she, played bass, wrote, and sang too, and then we'd have the spontaneous combusting drummer all the time, because drummers you just can't keep. They don't have cars usually. It's so crazy, and we just go through a lot of drummers. No, they don't want to. Somebody has to have a car to
Linnea, I
lug
did
them.
not know you played guitar and sang. Good grief. Do you still?
I'm starting to write more now, more songs, because I love writing songs. I really do.
Wow, that's
And
incredible.
recording, I love recording.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you sang.
I got one of my songs in a movie in Nightmare Sisters.
Oh, honey.
That was fun to get.
Well, Demons 4, I think you should do the soundtrack.
Yes. Okay, I'm doing the soundtrack of this new movie.
This is a pretty big announcement here, guys. We got the script, we got the soundtrack, Demons 4, it's ready to go.
Anybody want to put up the money?
Yeah, I think I see some hands
got
in the
a
back
dollar.
there. Let's see, there
Yes,
we go.
it's a start.
Oh,
Just
Kickstarter. Are you
show us
kidding
some
me?
money.
You crowdfund this, Night of the Demons 4 with the original cast, that would go through the roof. You guys would have the money in no time. Kickstarter or GoFundMe, yeah, oh my God, are you kidding? It'd be,
Maybe you started something that won't stop.
maybe, you know what? If I did, then I put a little bit of good to this out into this world.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. That's my contribution. That's,
You can be in it.
oh, all right, sure.
Okay.
Why not? I'll be a weird-looking guy in the background out of focus. I'm cool with that.
Oh, jeez.
We are getting close, but I do want to actually ask you guys before we wrap it up. You guys are not just legends in the film world, but absolute legends in the convention world as well. And I was wondering if, how much you guys think that's been crucial to, connecting with the fans and giving back and kind of keeping the movie alive, and, or if, your experiences with, or what you just love about doing conventions in general.
I think it's really good because we love the people that watch the fans. We love the people that watch the films, and I can relate to all of them because I loved horror, and they're the nicest people you can meet.
It's amazing. Horror people are so nice and polite and mild-mannered. There's nothing like, it's true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's true.
Except for him. No.
I don't think we're keeping the movies alive doing the conventions.
You don't think so?
The fans are keeping the movies alive.
Oh,
I mean, when I show up and they've got Blu-ray and they've got copies of obscure posters, they're making artwork. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Somebody else came up with a painting of you and me.
Yes.
It was phenomenal.
Wow.
And phenomenal artists.
Wow.
Creating things. One time I did one of these and somebody had recreated Hull House in miniature.
Whoa.
But the amount of talent out there is astonishing.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're the focus of their talent. And now there are filmmakers who are coming up to me in the convention saying, I'm a writer because of you. I'm a filmmaker because of you.
Wow.
So to be able to inspire new, young creativity and artwork in this way it's such an honor.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this con is going to be the first time that we really embrace the gay community and start putting a focus on the gay community and female icons in horror.
Absolutely.
And how we've been able to give them strength and will continue to give them strength.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
Well, because horror used to be a taboo for actresses to do horror, any nudity, to like horror. It was just kind of like, oh, you like that. You had to like all the cool stuff that was out, that was $1 million.
Right. I know.
So we all found a place to be. A convention.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also agree. I love these people. I have such a ball. My fans are the nicest, kindest, most generous people I've ever met.
Well, it's a two-way street because as soon as I started doing conventions, everyone, like, your reputation definitely precedes you as being, incredibly kind to your fans, both of you. And, that was like from the first con I did, it was like, oh, you got to meet Linnea and Amelia. Like, they're amazing. And, I've heard that at almost every con I've ever been to. So
Wow.
it really says a lot about the two of you and your character. So before we wrap it up, I do want to ask, if you have any projects coming up or anywhere online that fans can follow you, keep in touch with you, any upcoming conventions or besides Night of the Demons 4, which is happening.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, my man's my Instagram. So we've got that going all the time. The Facebook's going all the time. I've written 6 books about communicating with animals. If you know much about me, you're going to know about that. So I'm teaching those workshops in Knoxville, Tennessee, Chicago, and Palm Springs, and then on to Europe, Wales. I have a charity in Africa where I go into the schools in rural communities and work with the children. And we dance as lions, we draw lions, we make up plays about poaching and protecting animals. In Zimbabwe, I do it for the elephants. In Rwanda, I do it for the gorilla.
Oh my God.
In South Africa, I do it for lions. Zim, I did it for pangolin recently. And it's the entire focus of the charity is how I use my dance now and how I use my acting from back in the day. It's to empower African kids.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Keep the girls in school, get the girls in school, get the girls motivated so they can get jobs on the safari parks, get the boys working on the safari parks so that they're not caving into the poachers, And the whole goal of Archangel is to educate the next generation of kids. And Linnea is a big animal lover too, so this is another thing that we share.
Oh, that's, yes.
Super cool.
And also horror people love animals, I know,
Thank you.
more than anything.
And the conventions, and we'll be together, I hope, at all of them. So the next one is, for me, is Seattle, is the Crypticon. That's the beginning of May. And then the end of May, Pop, Rock, and Horror in Gettysburg. First one with that. And then I'm going to continue, I'm doing Days of the Dead. So in August, it's Louisville, Kentucky. September, Charlotte. October's Dallas. And then the rest, you know, we're trying to hammer out the whole schedule. I might come back from Europe in July and do Indy. I don't know if I can manage the jet lag. Are you going to be at Indy?
I don't think so. I'm in what month?
July.
I don't think so, but I know
you in
Kevin
Seattle?
was saying we would be in Dallas.
We're going to do a Demons reunion in Dallas.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. We'll have Stooge and everybody. It'll be really fun.
So where's your next con?
Let's
I don't
see.
know how you keep up with it all, Linnea.
Where is it, Matt? It's on my website.
That's there.
Okay, the first question was, okay, go to my website, go to my official Linnea Quigley Facebook page, and everything is listed where I'll be because I don't know.
And mine are AmeliaKincaid.com or Language and Miracles Institute. Sign up for my newsletter. Get in that system. I've got an online school. We're doing webinars. The entire world is online. I've got students in Switzerland, Germany, England, Ireland, France, Brazil, Portugal, India, London, South Africa, South Korea, and we all are Japan. We're all online together. We're all learning how to communicate better with the animals that we love and with all of creation, and learning how to hone our own intuition and our own supernatural powers, which are actually not supernatural at all. They're just part of what you're meant to be. So that's languageofmiraclesinstitute.com. And I hope you all have an absolutely freaking amazing weekend.
Awesome. Well, all right, yeah, give one more round of applause.
This is fun. Yay!
Definitely come check out these legends at their table, guys. Get some pictures, get some photo ops, get some autographs. I mean, they're just amazing, and they have a lot more stories to tell you than we could fit into just one panel. So one more round of applause for these two amazing legends.
Thank you. I'll take my sour balls away with me.
So yeah, it was because Witchboard had not come out yet. Witchboard actually came out while we were shooting Night of the Demons, so we did not know yet that we had a hit on our hands with Witchboard. I probably could have got more if I'd known.
And Linnea, from our panel last night, you had a little bit of hesitation when you first read the script as well, or was it even before you read the script?
Well, it wasn't before, but I was scared to go in because I thought they would reject me because I was like 25 at the time and all the kids were supposed to be teenagers, and so I kept saying to my manager I wasn't going to go in because I didn't want them to say, oh, you're too old for it, and so I just kept saying, no, I'm not going to go in. They said, oh, you really want to see you? Oh, no, I'm not going to go in. So it was just the luck that I got to work with Kevin Tenney, who actually needs a watch. If anybody has a watch,
If anyone wants to
yeah.
be able to claim that they're my #1 fan, just throwing it out there.
Just a suggestion.
So you read it back when it was called Halloween Party.
Yes.
Was there a huge amount of change from the original script into what was shot?
Well, we totally lost the scene with the aircraft carrier. and not Vesuvius, but otherwise it's pretty close to the original script.
We had some crane shots in it, though.
Yeah, we did. Actually, there wasn't the script I read. Now, if you read interviews with Joe Augustin, his original draft was drastically different, but they went through a lot of changes before I came on board. The biggest changes, the ones that I affected, were there was an opening where a priest spoke directly to the audience and blessed them all so they wouldn't get possessed while watching the movie. And I told Joe, I said, that might be a little too corny to start our film with. So we just said, screw it, and we cut that. And then the only other things for me were in passing, when we were talking about the script, he said something about the house being possessed instead of haunted. But there wasn't really addressed in the script, and I said, well, that's great. That's actually the hook right there. That's what makes this special, is it's not ghosts, it's demons. And so I had him, I said, write about that. So then that's when he gave Angela her whole spiel. This is a house that's been possessed and not haunted, and yada, yada, yada. Because I thought that would be an interesting hook for the audience. And then the only other thing was Judy, the heroine, was originally dressed like Little Red Riding Hood. And I thought, if we're doing a film about demons, you really don't want her running around in a big red cloak and cape. I said, and two, there were logic problems with the script in that, you know, the door can lock itself, and then it can't unlock itself, but it can make its cotter pins fall out so that it'll fall off. So I thought, if we address each of these logically, we kill the momentum. And so many of these sequences were great sequences, but you just had to not get bogged down in the fact that they didn't make sense. So I thought, well, let's dress her like Alice in Wonderland. That gets her out of red, which has demonic connotations. And then subconsciously we're saying, hey, the house is Wonderland and it's just fucking with her. And once I told that to the crew, they actually took to the point that the art department, in the scene where they're in the embalming room and all the bottles are there, you can't see it on film, but they had a little bottle there that said, drink me.
So I didn't see that.
I think Amelia just showed up. So let's get a warm round of applause.
This is what I dealt with in production.
If she clicks them 3 times, she'll be back in Hell House.
Now, as far as, like, I know that you were a little, you know, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this, I'm a little too old for it. Did any of you know each other before this or had seen each other's work?
No.
No, actually, I was not a horror fan at this time, so Joe knew who Linnea was.
Kevin, you're not supposed
I
to
know. He knew and the casting director knew who Linnea was. She might have even worked with Tedra Gabriel.
Yes,
I think she cast you in one of the
did.
prison films or something.
I think Savage Streets or something.
Okay, so she knew you, and she came in red, and I liked her, but I didn't know who she was. The funny thing was, I knew somebody had worked with her, and he had told me a story about her, but I didn't know who she was when he told me the story, so it wasn't until after we worked together, I said, oh, this is the gal that he was talking about. It was a good story.
Oh, thank God. Like, what story?
It was like, oh my God, now I've got this bitch, and I can't do anything with it. No, it was a good story, but it was funny that I made the connection about halfway through the film. Oh my God, this is the gal he was talking about. And Joe was also like a big MTV fan, so he knew who Amelia was from the video she did for the Stray Cats, Sexy and 17. So I didn't know who either of them were, but they came in red, and they did a really nice job, and so we cast them.
Don't worry, we didn't know who he was.
That's right. Witchboard did not come out yet, so I was still an unknown commodity as well.
That's right. That's right.
Now, Amelia, were you a horror fan before you came into the Demons?
You know, this is a question that cannot be answered in this room.
It's okay.
I know he just did. I wanted to work with Steve Johnson, who had just won an Oscar for Ghostbusters. I thought the special effects were going to be incredibly fun.
Little did you know.
Yeah. They're not. 27 hours as a snake is not fun. Glued to a teeter-totter, strapped in a trench. No, it wasn't fun. It
Fun
wasn't
for
at the
us who
time.
were just watching.
Oh, yeah.
No, so I was a fan of special effects because I was fascinated by it. I think it's a very interesting art form.
Now, all of you together, how was pre-production? Was it a long pre-production? Was it very short? Was there pre-production?
Yeah, there was pre-production. Actually, by pure luck, we found the house early. And because of that, whenever there was not something going on in the office where we were casting or I was dealing with script notes, I would hop in my car and I would drive over to the house and I would walk through it with a viewfinder that tells you, you can actually adjust it like a lens, like a zoom lens. So of all the films I've ever shot, that was probably the one I was best prepared for. And I think it shows, I mean, because so I knew not only how I was going to want to shoot the film, but I knew what lenses I was going to want to use for each shot. So when we got there, I could just say, throw on an 80, throw on a 200, whatever. And one of the decisions I made early was to, in order for the environment of the house to be drastically different from everything else that was shot in the film, I used all long lenses when they were not in the house, like at Judy's house or out on the road, because that flattens the background. And then in the house, I didn't shoot with anything less. The 25 was the longest lens I used. I think I used a 35 for a couple of shots I had to use, but 35, 25, or a 9-8, so that even in a room, like if you were 3 feet from that wall, it would still look like you were in a hallway, because the wall would be so far behind you. And that was just so that the house would be creepier.
And everybody thinks it's easy being a director.
Now, as actors, did you have an opportunity to rehearse a lot together, or was that not really a part of the pre-production for you?
Not a lot of rehearsal, I don't
we did
remember.
a week. I can't remember. We may have done a week, but honestly, about half of my answer is coming out of my ass. Because it's 25 years ago.
It's been a few minutes.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't remember a lot.
And I certainly will say, for the pre-production and rehearsal, I've never been on a panel with these two people. This is a little bit, we're making history here. So I get to talk about them, and you can hear stories that you have never heard before.
That's right.
But there were things that
Except
Kevin...
for the restraining order.
Kevin improvised at the last minute some shots that became history. I mean, really movie-making history. Some of those things were not pre-planned. I mean, the shot with the broken mirror and all of us looking into it,
That was
putting me on roller skates to make me float down the hallway. None of these things were thought through in advance. I mean, there was one scene where Steve Johnson is smoking cigarettes, blowing them up my skirt, so that smoke is coming out in little tubes out of my fingers. And while I have you here, because we got to see the Blu-ray screening in Hollywood, which sold out immediately.
Oh, yeah,
you weren't
yes,
there.
That was so much fun.
But what we had in the script was, and now she's possessed. And you look at it and go, okay, what does that mean? As an actor, what does that mean? And Linnea, you were so good.
She kind of set the bar for the other actors to follow. That's how we'll be when we're possessed.
I didn't know that.
You were so good. I mean, it's such...
But I gave them excellent direction, like, don't fuck up.
Be possessed and don't fuck it up.
Yeah, don't fuck up.
Exactly.
And now you dance.
And your dance was
And
amazing.
I'm possessed.
But
Interesting.
that's true. She choreographed her own dance, and she also improvised a lot while she was dancing. And I knew she was going to do this, and I knew I wanted to get some great shots of it. So Dave Lewis and I, the DP, we actually got a remote camera that's usually only used for rock videos at that time, that was on a dolly, and then a jib arm that we controlled from the other room, so we didn't have to be in the room, and the camera could just follow her. So when she's laying on the floor, popping up, we just basically let her do what she was doing, and we ended up getting great shots because she would fall down on the floor, and then we would drop down with her. And I think we did, like, you did it twice. We did 2 takes, and then I just cut the pieces from each shot that I liked the best together to do the dance, and it worked out amazing.
Yeah, and there's no CGI in there. It's like the strobe lights were going.
There was no such thing as CGI.
No.
We didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
We didn't know what it was in Demons 2.
I barely knew what film was.
Yeah, when they said, and now you're going to throw a fireball. And I was like, okay, well, who's going to set my hand on fire? And they said, no, it's CGI. I said, what's that?
Actually, was it CGI or just optical?
I think it was
Optical. I don't think CGI even existed then.
I didn't even know what they were talking about.
Optical was they'd have to do it. They would have to like get a pen light, and it would have to be done like animation. You would have to.
Well, that's only because you didn't direct it. You would have just set me on fire.
Yeah, I would have said I was giving you a tumbleweed, lit it on fire, say throw the fucker.
And throw this.
Don't
Wait
hit
for me, yeah.
Miss me and the camera. Anything else, fair game.
Oh my God.
I was just going to comment, it's very funny that we have two ladies who've had two very iconic dances in horror between Amelia
Oh, that's
and
true.
Demon.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
That way.
Yeah.
Yes, I danced on a tombstone, you danced in a haunted house. A possessed house. Possessed.
And I danced on my ex-girlfriend's grave, so. Where's my drummer? Where's my drummer?
If I remember correctly, you had a cameo in this film, so technically all of you acted in this film.
That's right. Yes, I have the riveting role of guy shopping for milk in the back of the store. Obviously, you all remember that.
Yes, I remember it.
No, he was acting because if it was real life, he would have been shopping for beer.
And I think Joe Augustin, the writer-producer, was off to the left checking out the chips.
Oh, that's so funny.
Now, that was something that was shot in an actual convenience store in LA?
Yes.
Were there any, just regular, I almost said human extras, any just regular civilian extras that were a little taken aback by what was going on?
No. When you rent the store, even though it's a real store, you rent it and then you control it. So all the extras in the store are actually crew people. Just anyone who wasn't actually working while we were doing that shot got pulled in to be an extra in the scene.
Well, we had a lot of security because we were not shooting in a great place.
No, we were shooting in Watts.
Yeah.
The house is at the corner, or was at the corner of Adams
Houses really
and
look
Vermont.
like that.
Yeah, it was at the corner of Adams and Vermont, which is, not a great area. So we had very heavy security, and we're shooting at night. And, and of course we had to retake a lot of the dialogue scenes because of machine gun fire.
Yeah. But a lot of people want to have that house. When I talk to people, they're like, I'd love to have that house as my house to live in.
No, it was tragic that it got torn down. Those were really gorgeous
Yeah.
Hollywood historic homes.
And it was huge. It was actually 2 buildings with a porch that joined them. So it was like a gigantic, it took up like a whole corner lot. So it was huge.
And back in the day of old Hollywood, that was a nice part of town.
Yeah, well,
Those,
that's what
those
happens
were
with
where
any.
Charlie Chaplin and the old movie stars lived. And it was a beautiful home.
If we could start with Amelia, out of curiosity, is there one part of this film that was just the absolute hardest for you to film and you just felt like, I just don't want to do this?
On the spot now, baby.
Don't worry, it's coming to you too, Kevin, and we'll put it in.
Well, taking the prosthetics off took an hour and a half. Getting them on took 5 or 6 hours. And it only took a few nights of that before I was really not having fun. I'm really not fun. And at one point, I remember the makeup people saying, we have to send her home because she has bleeding wounds in her face.
Oh.
We can't make up over bleeding, gaping wounds.
Oscar winner, my ass. Yeah. No, but the stuff coming off is so glued on.
It's so
just,
awful.
I mean, it's tough on the guys, but the women who have these, beautiful alabaster faces,
Well,
it was brutal.
The one night, I think Hal was in tears, saying,
Yeah.
can I sleep in it?
Yeah,
Can
I just want to sleep in it rather
Don't
than
take it off and put it back on the next day.
Oh, man, that's bad.
So, did I dread any scenes in Demons 1?
Anything that said demon.
No, I'd have to say no. And number 2, I got to shag Darren to death, which was a good time. I got paid to do that.
Oh my God, yes. I'm in the wrong end of the business.
And Demons 2, the snake makeup was hard. It was hard and it was intense. If you haven't seen Demons 2 yet, they turned me into Kermit the Frog. And I'm a 30-foot snake. And
all practical. No CGI, all practical.
God. And in retrospect, I can say that if I hadn't been a professional dancer, I couldn't have done that. When I was growing up, we'd take off our point shoes and pour the blood out and put them back on and finish the Nutcracker rehearsal. That's what it meant to be a ballerina. That's what it still means to be a ballerina. And you couldn't throw up your hands and say, ouch, my face hurts and my fangs are bleeding. Will you take the shit off my face? You just soldier through it. And also, Linnea, because you also got to dance in a film, this was at a time, I hit Hollywood right after Flashdance. So Maureen Jahan was the person who got to do the dancing in Flashdance. And one of my partners, Peter Tram, was the one who did the dancing in Footloose. And then they had another double to do the gymnastics. So it was a world where you were an actor or a dancer. You couldn't really be both. And we both got to be both in movies and not get doubled. And we can choreograph our own dances, and that was pretty darn fabulous.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. And I got to be a director and a sex symbol.
To this day. To this day! And remains forever.
And humble.
Kevin, for you, same question. I mean, is there any time that you were like, screw it, I'm done with this, or did you have a good time all the way?
No, actually, I had a pretty good time. I had just done Witchboard, which was a much more serious horror film, and when you're doing the scenes where the characters have to cry and have all these emotional moments, the crew has to be quiet, and you have to give them, the actors, time to get to a dark place, using whatever techniques they use to get there, and then you have to shoot the scene, and whether it's going well or badly, you can't say, that was great, now let's go for another, or, oh, that sucked. You have to be very respectful of their process. And in Night of the Demons, since it was really just a campy, let's have fun movie, we never had to, even when we were shooting stuff like, even like things like eyes getting blown out and all, it was like, we're having fun, let's fuck those suckers,
yes.
You know? So it was always fun. The only time, I mean, you're always, when you've got a small budget and an ambitious script, you're always fighting with time. Time is your enemy. And there were times when we were like down to the wire and I wanted to do a fancy shot and the producers were just like, we need to get this shot before the sun rises. Usually you're fighting sunset. We were always fighting sunrise. But the shot with the mirrors, because I had plotted it out in my head how I wanted to do it. I had the art department build a false floor that we put at a 45-degree angle. I explained to the cameraman how I wanted to do it, but didn't know if it was going to work. And so we're shooting. And when I kept telling everyone what I want, no one seemed to quite, I couldn't explain it clearly to everybody. They like, what? And I finally just said, put the floor up, you stand there, and half the cast on apple boxes, a third on apple boxes, third just standing on the floor, another third like kneeling, so that they would be at different levels. And what we had to do was wrap the camera completely in duvetine, which is like a black felt that absorbs light so that you wouldn't see the camera in any of the mirrors. And then we had to place all the actors around, and we had to place a mirror. And the cameraman would sit there and go, "Okay, move that piece of glass. Okay, now I have Linnea in that piece of glass." And they say, "Okay, now I have Amelia in that." And we did that with everyone. And then they all had to duck, and then I just, okay, you stand up first, you. So it all looks like you're walking up to the mirrors, but you're all just standing up. And so we're about halfway through it. Everyone started to realize what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And Kathy Podwell said, "Oh, this is a great shot. Have you done this before?" I said, if I had done this before, I wouldn't be sitting here shitting myself. Because if, when we're done, it doesn't work, I've just wasted my whole shooting day to get this one shot, and I won't have time to shoot this scene standard. So we either get it in the mirror, or we are, big time screwed. So luckily it came out exactly as I had envisioned it.
And they don't take the time now to really get shots like that in the so-called movies.
Yeah.
And that was his choreography. That was his moment of choreographing something really amazing. Do you all know what we're talking about? And I remember him saying, Mimi, you got to move 1/8 of an inch more to the left because we can see somebody else's head behind you. Trying to get each one of us in each little piece of glass.
And it's true. It was like you talk about an actor having to say their lines, find their light, hit their mark, which you can always tell when you're working with someone who hasn't done movies yet and someone who has, because they know how to do it. But even if you knew how to do all that, this was new, because this was like, find your light, hit your mark, know your line, and while you're at it, do this. Yeah, there you go. This is great. This is dog shit. Perfect. You're fucking me. You're Oscar worthy. You're ruining my movie. So, and we had 10 of them. So it's like everyone, 9 of you did a great job. You fucked me. But it came up. I think we did again, 2 takes, and we were out and got it.
Linnea, I'm going to assume with what you went through on Return of the Living Dead, you know, getting tackled by zombies in a graveyard, this might have been a walk in the park for you.
It was a lot easier. The only part I dreaded was the final scene in the movie because I knew I would be in the makeup chair for a long time. We started at 3 in the afternoon one day, and I think we got the shot at dawn or something like that. So I think we were in makeup for, I was, because I had Randy Cook, who I love, but he would like do the makeup and stand back and look, and do the makeup and stand back and look. It took like 14 hours, I'm not kidding. And I was just like ready to tear it all off. But, and then you get the jokes like, you remind me of an ex-girlfriend, or have you seen a dermatologist about that? And I'm like, okay, if I hear that again, I'm going to just go nuts. So
remember, I'm wearing fangs.
Oh, yeah.
I'll bite you.
I know. It was just like everybody would say that, and you felt funny eating in front of anybody if you could eat, you know, through the prosthetics.
It made acting possessed a lot more method acting. It was easier for you. I remember looking in the mirror and not recognizing myself. And it was a really scary feeling.
Yeah, it's like, who is that? And people look at you different.
Well, that was what I noticed, is that, you know, Linnea was probably the only one that was was kind of a star already in the horror community. So a lot of the crew guys knew who she was, and they were kind of, ooh, Linnea Quigley. And so they reacted to her a specific way on the set when she would show up, hubba, 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 whatever. And she showed up in the makeup, and guys who had been lusting after her wouldn't even look at her. Like, it was funny. It's like, it's just makeup, but it was so good that it was disturbing enough that you would be like, yeah, come back when you've got that off. It was really striking.
Oh, how funny. I didn't even know about it.
Out of curiosity, do any of you have any great experiences working with Steve Johnson? I mean, he was amazing in this. I always think of the boob gag.
Oh, yeah.
I can't help but think about that.
You know, it's funny, Steve and I did not get along. Because well, you know, if you see the commentary of the interviews, we talk about it. And we're really good friends now. I mean, we hang out, and I love him to pieces. But, you know, it was my film, Witchboard, did not come out yet. So this was still a showcase for me. Everybody who worked on it wanted to showcase their best of their abilities, and Steve did too. But Steve would actually like screw up my schedule. Like he would just say I can do the makeup in 5 hours, and 7 hours later I'd still be waiting for it. So finally I just said, I can't do this, Steve. If you're not ready, I'm going to shoot it as is. And he got really mad at me, but I said, listen, you know. And at one point I said to him, I know, Steve, I know, because this was the first film by his own shop. He had started his own shop. He'd left Richard Edlund, and he'd gotten a job to do a Michael Jackson video, which he bought he got like he was going to get a big advance, so he bought a shop, he hired a big crew, and then Michael Jackson fired him. And he was like, uh-oh! And we offered him the job like the next day, and which is probably the only reason we got him, because we weren't paying a lot either, but he needed the job, so he took it. But then he knew that this is his first film out of the gate. He had to really come on like gangbusters. So he wanted his stuff showcased, but I finally had to sit him down and said, listen, I understand that, but I want my directing showcased, the actors want their performances showcased, the DP wants his lighting showcased, the camera operator wants his camera movement. We all want to be showcased, and it's my job to make sure that what ends up being showcased is the entire film, not just one spot. So I finally, what I did was we made a compromise. We took the two most elaborate effects, which was the eye gouge and the razors in the throat, and I agreed not to shoot them while we were shooting the film. We put them at the end, we added on one day, and we spent half a day on the razor effect and half a day on the eye effect, which is why they turn out so amazing. And that was, I said, if you can then get them in their makeup and out there at the wall on time, and I won't kill you and you won't have to kill me. And actually when we did the wall scene, because it was like all eight of them were possessed, he called in favors. So we had like a dozen Oscar winners working on there for free, just as a favor to see, because everyone had to have their own makeup, so in order to make our schedule. So.
Well, I ended up marrying him, so you can imagine like going somewhere, how long it took him to get ready.
You two fell in love on this movie.
Yeah, Steve's a screenplay.
Yes. Yeah,
I had this huge crush on Steve Johnson.
Oh,
I'm telling you my secrets now. And then I hear that he is plaster casting Linnea Quigley's chest.
Nice.
And enjoying the process a little bit too much. And I went, oh, damn. Okay, there it goes. No,
oh my God,
and then
I got
you
shit
married him.
I know it, but I got shit for it because he said, you just came in the shop and took off your top. And I'm like, well, that's what I was supposed to do. He gave me shit about it.
I know, we went to see the cast later and he could not stop talking about this beautiful actress coming in and he goes, she had the most perfect breasts. And I said, oh, you did the cast? He said, yeah. And he was obviously enamored with her. And I said, well, maybe you should take her to dinner or something. That's the least you can do after you rub gloop all over her.
And on that note, I think we should open up the floor to questions. All right, who's first? Right up here.
I was just wondering what your favorite behind-the-scenes moments were.
Philip Tanzini had his arm chopped off and was spewing blood. And this was before there were laws that you can't go out in public in special effect makeup. And one morning, after we'd been up all night shooting, and he's missing his, it's just a bloody stub, he drove through, was it Burger King?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, God. And pulled up and had the girl, you know, reaching out to take his order, and here he is with the arm spewing blood. And so, for me, we had practical jokes going. I think there are a lot of movies now that people are very serious. And also, Billy Gallo was running around with a stake sticking out of his heart. And he would make it jump, you know, he'd be... And so, it was a fun cast with a great sense of humor.
Billy was so buff that we couldn't, when he was laying there with the steak and he was supposed to be dead, he could hold his breath, but because he had like 0 body fat, every time his heart beat, the stick would go. Get out of shape, would you? You know, my two behind the scenes, both Phil. We were shooting with this stuff called cookie smoke, which is now banned because they decided it was carcinogenic. But when you smoke up the house, you can't see the smoke on camera, but what it does is when someone turns on a flashlight, it gives this beautiful beam of light. So that's why we have all these beautiful beams coming through the windows and everyone's flashlights. Looks amazing. But we had a mixture of white and blue smoke. And you'd go home at night and blow your nose, and it would just lots of blue coming out of your nose. So we had a prop department handles the cookie, and what it is, it's like a chunk that looks like styrofoam. They put it in an actual frying pan, and they light it, and it catches on fire, and then they put out the fire, and it wafts, and smoke comes off, and the guy walks through the room with a fan and fills the room with smoke, and then you let the smoke settle, and then you shoot. So we're getting ready to do a shot, and the prop guy's assistant was very gung-ho, and he was always, that was his job, so he would make sure, do we have enough smoke, do we have enough? So we're getting ready to do Phil's close-up when he's at the fireplace, looking at Linnea's butt. And so it's on him, and we're just about to shoot, and the prop assistant goes, do you need more smoke? And Phil goes, I'll check. And he shoves his finger up his nose, and he pulls it out, and it's blue from here up. And he goes, no, we're good. And the second one is he's in the coffin with Jill Terashita. And we did a take of them having sex in the coffin. And she gets out to go touch up her body makeup. So Phil's laying in the coffin just wearing a G-string. And he and the first AD would banter all the time. So the first AD is leaning on the lid of the coffin, and he's talking to Phil. He's telling him a story or whatever, and Phil's listening. And I'm just standing there dealing with the DP or whatever. But I'm hearing, and I don't even know what the story was. It's elaborate. He's talking, and when he's done, Phil just goes, "Hey, dude, do me a favor. Stop looking at me down there." and the first AD fell on the floor laughing, and those are my best memories of behind the scenes.
I'm trying to think if I remember anything. It was just all such a whirlwind. I think just when we first all met, I remember Phil being like a teenager, just like all that energy.
Yeah.
And I remember the first AD would just correct him all the time, like,
like his daddy.
Yeah, and I remember it was horrible at the time, but when they're doing the scene where they all go around, they have the camera in the middle and they're going around the room, and I'm supposed to say woos, wuss, wuss. I didn't know if to say woos or wuss. And so I would be, because I'm supposed to be a teenager. And so they would be having the camera go around and my mind's going, wuss, woos, wuss, woos. I was so nervous and it made me crazy. But I got it.
For the record, it's wuss.
I know. I still don't know.
Yes, I know we talked about this last night, Kevin, but
My wife might see this.
No, I'm so intrigued by the lipstick scene. You're laughing because it's so funny. Yeah.
Linnea's got magic boobs, and she can just do that. She showed that to me in the audition. I said, we have to put that in the movie.
I thought all women had that,
I'm so intrigued about the special effects.
You notice she's not carrying a purse.
Wait, no, it's this one.
Yes, it was definitely
It was a prosthetic. Back then, all the makeup they wore was foam rubber. They didn't have the silicone and latex that they have now, which looks better, looks more like skin, is easier to apply, easier to remove. It was all foam rubber that had to be stuck on with glue and then peeled off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But for the shot of the breast, foam rubber wasn't going to cut it because I wanted, you had to be close on it when it went in. And so Steve said, I'm going to make it out of gelatin, because gelatin has translucence like real human skin. The problem is it's gelatin, so it looks great, but you make the mold, you have to stick it in a fridge like Jell-O. And when you pull it out of the fridge, you got maybe 2 hours before it starts to turn into Jell-O-like liquid. So he said, when I build it, we have to shoot it right away. So we rehearsed it.
Yeah.
Without it's a plate that goes from here to here, and then it's hidden by her neck, her chin down, and it's tucked into the waist of her skirt. And you remember she's got her shirt open, so you don't see the sides because the shirt blocks that.
Very real.
Yeah.
And what I wanted was I didn't want to do one fake boob and have her really topless and then cut for the effect, because I said the audience will know that's what we did.
Right.
I said we'll start out wide and I'll push in. And Steve was worried because when I built the hole, he goes, you won't see the effect. I said, but I'll do a push in. So by the time the effect happens, we'll be in our close-up, but we didn't cut. We pushed in. So everyone thinks they're looking at her real boobs, and then they're completely creeped out. I didn't know they could do that.
Confused a lot of men.
Yeah. But the problem was she's right-handed, so we had her for the left boob so she could do that. But when we rehearsed it, her hand doing it this way blocked the effect. So he said, oh, okay, you got to use this hand. I said, hello, I'm right-handed. So she was really nervous that, doing it with her left hand and having to do it was a very awkward and unnatural way to do it. But we did 2 takes, they both went perfect.
Yeah.
And we were done.
Wow.
Yeah, but we rehearsed before we even brought it out. Just
Yeah.
the camera move and how long it would take her to get there and the camera to get there too.
Well, it just looked very real. I mean,
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I'd look in the mirror with it on, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm topless.
It looked great.
Must be Thursday.
I like watching Kevin reenact it personally. It's very funny to sit up here.
Yeah. Yes, he does it at home quite often.
All right, yes, back
That was
there.
my go-to
Hey,
date
so,
move.
the iconic dance scene, the music selected for that had so much to it. Who chose that track, and did you dance with it when you filmed it, or was it added later? Was it live?
Do you remember the actual song? Joe had it in his script. It was
It
another Bauhaus, but it wasn't that
It
one.
wasn't the right one. No, that was the right song for
Yeah.
that.
She
I
picked it and brought it in.
insisted that we use that song. And I couldn't believe when we actually got the rights to that song.
Yeah.
But what a difference that
Yeah.
made to have Stigmata Martyr as that song.
And so you danced to something else.
No, she danced to
Oh,
Stigmata.
you-
She brought it in to dance to
Oh,
it,
I
and we all
picked
said,
it.
"Oh."
You
Once
gotta
we saw her dance to it, it was like, "This has got to be the
Yeah.
song." So then we started,
Looking for rights.
going through the arduous task of finding the rights and bargaining and negotiating.
Good music, didn't you?
Yeah, well, you picked it to dance to. We weren't necessarily going to use it because we didn't even know if we didn't have the rights to it. Yeah, we didn't think we had the rights to it. So, but we thought this dance is so perfect with this song, and we went. It's funny when I was one of the producers on the remake, which had a much bigger budget, and they had a lot of great songs from Concrete Blonde and Goat Whore and every punk rap band you can think of. And at one point, the director of that, Adam, asked me, he goes, "You had all these, everyone was wearing these logos for all these great punk bands, but you didn't use any of the music." I said, "Well, we didn't have $4 million, buddy. We were lucky we got the Bauhaus song. We didn't think we were going to, we actually weren't planning to budget any songs. Dennis, which is my brother who did the score, was just going to write all the songs because we really didn't think we would get anybody's song. So we were very pleased when we got the Bauhaus song."
Yes.
On the same thing on the dance, the dress seems to transform during the process of the dance. Is that like two separate outfits or layers added, subtracted, or what?
You're seeing stuff, dude. Yeah, no, it was. She had the wedding gown, and then, but it would have been real. Once she got dancing and was jumping, and no way you would have done it in a wedding gown.
Now, there were several different renditions of that dress. One of them was when half the dress is burned off, and that was a body double who did a double flip off a 3-story building. That's real.
Yeah.
That was real. She really did that. The girl jumped in the
Did it
middle of the night.
attached to a guy? Because
She
it's the both
did
of
it,
them.
and
going.
half her body is really on fire, and she landed in a trampoline.
No.
What was she landed?
Boxes. They couldn't get.
Oh my God!
They usually use a big airbag, but because the area was too small to get an airbag in, they put cardboard boxes about 3 or 4 deep, and filled. And I said, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "No, if the boxes collapse, they break the fall." I said, "Really?" And just before they did the jump, he picked up a piece of the picket fence that was laying there, and he threw that on top. I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "That'll help break the fall too." And it's 2 people. The guy. She's wrapped around the guy, and he does a backflip off, and she's hanging onto him, and the two of them.
That's amazing.
It's never been photographed. There was a stunt that had never been done anywhere before.
No.
And they're not dead.
And they both got
don't know if
They both, well,
Yeah.
we didn't inform the crew because it would have been a downer. There were services later.
That's in 2, right?
No, 1.
No,
When Sal goes off the roof with
Oh,
Angela.
yes. Okay.
And the girl, half her body's on fire.
That's right.
Really on fire.
No, she was just smoking.
I was.
She wasn't actually on fire because Angela's out by then. She just actually.
No, Kevin, she's on fire.
Watch it. She's not on fire.
You're all gonna have to watch it again to help me. with this.
Amelia's having an Alzheimer's moment.
Kevin Tenney's a reckless director.
I have Irish Alzheimer. I don't even remember what it
So to answer your question, yeah, that was a see-through dress. That was a different dress.
It was actually layers of chiffon.
There were 5 or
and-
6
right.
different dresses according to levels of possession.
So when she was doing her dance, we'd have, because what we wanted was when we shot her from the side where she's between the fireplace, we wanted to create the illusion that the fireplace was making the dress transparent. So when we shot this way and she was dancing here and the fireplace was here, we put her in the chiffon so you could see through it. And then when she was dancing all around, we had her in chiffon so she could actually throw her legs around. And then when she stops dancing and Stooge comes up, she's back in the gown.
It's just one of the effects I always enjoy is the way it transforms.
Wow, that's amazing you realize that. Yeah. That's very
Well, why not? When it transforms, you get to see Amelia's like amazing dancer legs. It's like, hello, cheap effect, it looks great. Let's do that.
We've got time for a couple more questions. Anybody in the back? I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, no, this gentleman.
I was really intrigued with the person who did the demon voice. Now, how did you incorporate that? Like when Angela would, like be speaking, but obviously it wasn't your voice. Like, how did you have that guy record that beforehand, or did you have to just sort of like pretend you're singing he speaks, and how did that?
Oh, that would be brutally hard to do it that way. No, they said their lines, and then in ADR, the guy came in and just dubbed them. And he could actually just do that voice. I went to high school with him, and after we saw The Exorcist, he would cold call people and go, hello. And he would be awake all night. And we thought that was pretty fucking funny. So I know a guy who can do those voices. But actually, they couldn't speak very well with those teeth in. They would go, I'm going to break your neck now. So, I mean, they sounded horrible anyway because they had this mouthful of these teeth. So we just recorded them as basically as a track so he could dub to it. But
we were silly demons.
How does it feel after all these years knowing that the film has such a strong following? I mean, Kevin, I'm a huge VHS collector, and a lot of people out there still even collect tapes, and there are a few people that will go out of their way to have every single copy of Night of the Demons on VHS even. So how does it feel knowing that it's actually become such a huge success?
I'm kind of sad to realize that mental illness has reached that stage. It's obviously an epidemic. We had the screening in Hollywood, which, by the way, was packed. They put seats in the aisles and let people stand up in the back, 4 rows deep, and they still turned people away at the door. And about halfway through the film, Billy Gallo, who plays Sal, was sitting in front of me, and he leans back to me and he goes, did you ever imagine when we were on the set shooting this that we'd be sitting here 25 years later with a packed house? And I said, no. If you got in a time machine and you went back and questioned any of us or any of the other cast or crew and said, do you know this is going to be a cult favorite? Yeah. We said, no. We didn't even expect the thing was going to be in theaters 2 weeks after it was released. No. It completely caught all of us off guard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When we got the first review we got was Variety, which is brutal, because that's the trade paper for Hollywood. And it was a rave. I mean, like a frickin' rave. And I called the producer and I said, how much did you pay this guy? I couldn't believe we got that review. I thought the horror fans might like it, but I thought the critics were just gonna butcher us. And some of them did quite well. I still have scars from some of those skewers. But they were, even the ones who hated it were still impressed with the production value of it, so. But no, I don't think any of us. I get so many fans now that go, why didn't you make a soundtrack CD? Never occurred to us anyone would want one. Who wants a soundtrack CD to a film they never heard of?
Mm-hmm. I think in retrospect now that I got to see it recently, and I hadn't seen it for like 20 years, we're going for it. Now, we were getting less than minimum wage. It was a 23-day shoot. We're getting tortured. And as I'm watching, we're talking about what a perfectionist Steve Johnson was and what a pain in the ass that was. But that's also one of the reasons this movie was so good. Kevin was going for it. Nobody said, we're tired, we're not getting paid enough, we don't really care. And when I watched those performances, Kathy Podwell, man, she was
so authentic. I mean, there are scenes where she's screaming because a dismembered arm has attached itself to her ankle, and she's got to go. I mean, that's not easy to do. Everything that was done in that movie, and Linnea, you were terrifying, gorgeous, funny, wonderful, and terrifying. It would have been so easy for it to look silly or cheap, and have it be something that's just a big joke. What really makes the film scary is Kevin's choices and his camera work.
Oh yeah.
The music also, he wasn't getting paid very much. He was going for it.
Dennis
But
kicked ass.
all of the actors, man, we put everything, you can tell, we put our soul into that movie. And we were young, we were hungry, we weren't well known. We just thought, hey, let's just give it all we got. So it's really kind of a pursuit of excellence that I think made the movie work. And there's something in it that you all look at this and you go, hey, why does it appeal to you the way it does?
Because we love it. Oh, thank
I think that's probably the best way to end this. So thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for coming to the convention.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming out
Thank you
for
for
this.
having us.
Oh, thank you.
Dragon Micro-Budget Studios brings you a new concept in movie watching on the small screen, containing some of the world's most interesting films by cinema's biggest talent, which will be shown and added to on a monthly basis. As a subscriber, you will be able to receive free stuff and learn from the various tutorials and equipment reviews that will be uploaded at Dragon.
Whoa!